Well, hi folks, hope you're well. Of late, been rather concerned about my memory. And I have actually been down to the doctors to have a memory test, especially since that my mother is in hospital now, terminal, and she has dementia, quite considerable dementia. And it's been a tragedy to watch, quite frankly, as it progresses. And I thought, well, why was my memory, or why am I concerned about my memory? Quite frankly, I used to be pretty good at maths and physics. And to be honest with you, I started to pick up my home phone, and I've always been too lazy to put people's numbers in my home phone. I've always had their numbers in my head. So, but now I've gone mobile, as they say. I've pre-programmed all the numbers of my family members and those I speak to regularly in my mobile phone. Mr. Lazy. And so remembering things is always a little bit difficult. And my memory, I think, my God, I used to know their address, or I used to know, oh, I can't, what was their name again? Sometimes I even forget their name. It's dreadful, isn't it? What an insult. But particularly bad is the numbers. And as I say, as I'm quite a numerate person, I can usually, remember a string of numbers quite easily, backwards and forwards. But of late, I haven't been able to. So I went, my mother suffers from dementia, of course, and in hospital terminal, sadly, but there we are. And I thought, oh, I hope I haven't got an early onset of what she's got, really, because it potentially could happen. Because I find myself now grabbing our home phone and I can't remember the number. It's getting embarrassing. And it's something I tried to hide, but I can't. And I have to now resort to looking on my mobile phone to find the number of the phone number I want. And people would say to me, well, come on, you should know this number by now. But another problem I found of late is my handwriting has become pathetic. It's like a 5-year-old. And I've never had really good handwriting. I've always admired people who've got beautiful handwriting, And it's something you can easily learn because you can turn that sort of thing into a habit. But me, I've always been a scrawler. I've always to the right slightly. It's always leaning. I don't know why. I used to get a smack on the knuckles of the teachers if I wasn't vertical. But no. So 2 major problems recently. One is that I can't remember Dick. So I've gone to the doctors, actually passed the little test that they give you, so I know I haven't got an early onset. And the other one is, of course, is that this business of dementia is a worry. And I'm finding that I don't pay attention. My attention span is that of a gnat of late. And so my writing has gone down the toilet, my clarity of writing. My ability to spell things correctly has gone down the toilet. And my numeric ability of remembering a string of numbers and my friends' phone numbers off the top of my head has gone down the toilet. I'm going down. Is it age? Am I getting old? Is this what I've got to look forward to? And then it dawned on me, and someone highlighted it also, and said it's happened to them. I said, well, what's the problem? What's the big secret then? What's wrong with me? Well, quite frankly, there's nothing wrong with me. My wife would contradict that in many ways, but what's wrong with me is that I no longer need to write things down because I spend a majority of my time typing. I don't need to remember numbers now because they're stored as a name. Dave, Bill, Robert, Andy. I don't know many women. My wife doesn't like me having women on the phone. Yes. All the women I know have got men's names. Ha ha ha. Only kidding. But the other thing is I do have a problem spelling. Well, obviously you need to be able to spell to write, but when you get into the habit of tap, tap, tap on a keyboard, you don't need, I don't think I'm going to go write a word possibly, it's just done. I don't have to think about it. Because it's automatic with the fingers. It's with the fingers, not the brain, you see. We bypass this thing. If a habit becomes a habit, it's because you're bypassing the brain. Some people can play the flute very quickly. They don't sit there thinking A, B, C, G sharp, F. No, that's it. But write it down on a bit of paper. I can't. I know how to play it, but I couldn't, despite being able to write music, I couldn't write the song down. But I've got it in here. Well, for most of us folks, the big danger is, of course, now that children out there, they can't remember numbers and they can't spell and they can't write words without spelling mistakes, and it's because they don't use their brain. They're using microcomputers to store numbers. They don't bother you, so you don't have to remember anymore. And like everything else, our memory is indeed a muscle-like thing. If you don't use it, you'll lose it. So I'm not sure about you, but have you found your handwriting style or quality going down the toilet? You think a pen is so uncomfortable to hold. Give me a keyboard any time, baby. But it's the same. It's so convenient. Flick your phone. Dave, bonk. Hello, Dave. How are you doing? Coming out to the pub. See you later. And you don't bother writing to anyone now, do you? Gone. Snail mail. It's so old hat, isn't it? But another thing I've noticed of late, well, I'd be curious to see if you have this problem. Please put comments underneath. And the only way to solve the problem, by the way, is to deliberately make a point of remembering the numbers. And repetition is the mother of skill when you want to remember things. Ask any musician and they'll say the more you play, the more you'll remember it. A bit like reading your lines, isn't it, when you're an actor or actress? So that's the one thing, is practice writing a lot more and deliberately make yourself remember the numbers by tapping them in by hand rather than just praying Dave, phone. That's it. We're becoming very mentally lazy. That's the problem. And we're all getting lazy-brained. We truly are. Yeah, our brain is phenomenally capable of storing infinite amounts of information. So that's one thing. But I'm not sure about you, but I've noticed that, I don't know if I should say this really, but I will. I can understand why people become recluse. Now that sounds awful, doesn't it? Am I going mental? Am I becoming a grumpy? I don't know, but I cannot stand the company of most people I meet. Current company accepted. I really can't. I can't be done with it all. I'll tell you why. You go into any, if you work in an environment where there's a lunch break and you can go and sit in a communal lunch staff restroom, for example, as an example, or sit amongst those others who are drinking and eating and talking. You only have to eavesdrop on conversations to realise that, well, I do. I sit there amongst them and I think, I listen to this couple. You can't help it because I'm a nosy git. And I just sort of eat, have a cup of tea and eat a sandwich or something and just listen. Just listen to the diatribe of shit that most people talk about. It's the forthcoming wedding. How's Dave's divorce getting on? How are the kids? Where are you going on summer holiday? Did you watch the match last night? Or, here's the biggie, did you watch any television last night? Oh, what's happening in Downton Abbey and all this sort of shit that used to be on. So you can switch radars. Beep, over to the other table. I'll listen to that conversation because that one's a bit tedious. How's your health, Bob? Well, so I've been down hospital. You think, oh. And you just think, we're all the same. All the people I'm listening to seem to be the same. They're tuned into radio What's In It For Them, aren't they? WIIFM. What's in it for me? What's in it for me? And then you think, poor sod, obviously most conversations are one way because people don't generally converse. One talks, the other listens. That's how it generally is out there. But what they talk about is insane. Insane. Now, is it me? I don't know. Am I being a snob? No, I'm happy talking to people, but give me something bloody decent to talk about, for Christ's sake. I don't have a telly. Okay, I don't. I watch the internet, that's all. Predominantly YouTube, and I Netflix, that's all. I like Netflix because I like watching films for a bit of escapism, and I like watching YouTube. The rest of it's bollocks, isn't it, as far as I'm concerned? And although I do have a telly downstairs, my wife watches it. But again, she gets things on a dongle and plugs it into the side and watches the big screen. But neither of us are telly freaks. Certainly not terrestrial TV, only for watching films generally, or box sets. Because neither of us watch this shit. Our children don't watch telly either. But now they fled the nest. But I'm sitting there and thinking, oh, I can't bear this now. I eat my sandwich and I'll have my cup of tea, and I just think, oh, Jesus. But then you can go downtown and you can go into walking down the shops and you eavesdrop on people and families, and they're looking in the window of the shops licking their ice cream, and the kids are there and they're just staring, hypnotised by the products on show through the glass, like going to any jewellers, look in the jewellers, look at the Breitling watches and, little Longines and things. And I think they're having a laugh. 2,500, 3,500 quid for a watch. I mean, the time is the same for all of us. Give me a £2.50 Casio off eBay any day of the week, and my 1 hour is the same as your 1 hour. My time is the same as your time. Yet you've got £2,500 on your wrist that you'll never get back, even if you were to sell it. What a nonsense. It's all posy, posy, posy. And everybody who sees the real one will assume, because you look like a dick, that it's a fake. But why do we stare? Because we're consumers. We're never happy, you see. And here's the trick to being happy. Stop bloody wanting things that are of little consequence. Ask yourself, can you live without them? Here's the answer. Oh yeah, baby. You've lived without them for so long. You can live without them a bit more. But stop wanting. Okay. And you'll be really happy. You won't be feeling so deprived, you see. But I have found the biggest thing that's pissing me off about those I live amongst, not my family, but surrounded by, is I think generally people now in this country, UK, are bloody rude. There are no manners anymore. The roads are becoming chaotic with people who, evidently to me, shouldn't have a driving licence and don't study the highway code and have no courtesy. There's just no courtesy anymore. It's all dog eat dog. I want the parking space. I'm going to cut everybody up. I'm so important. I have to speed through here and piss everybody else off. And those people are becoming more and more prevalent, and you wonder if they've got a licence at all. Yes, ethnic brethren. And It's rather strange, isn't it, when you get foreign visitors to the shores who are used to driving on the left-hand side, they still think when they come here they can drive on the left-hand side. And they, oh, forgot. Well, most of them don't give a shit because half of them haven't got the insurance and the other half haven't got a license either. Yes. And yet they live here. Ho, ho, ho. But they're rude. Oh, it's the problem of living in a multicultural society. They don't mean to be rude, the defenders would say. But they are rude because they hate us. That's the truth of the matter. They want to see us dead. They see this country as theirs, and it will be. Sooner than later it will be. We just don't realise it yet, do we? But I'm staying off that topic before my channel's banned again. So I find myself now getting more and more isolated, and yet word alienated, not so much, but I'm self-alienating, alienating myself because I'm imposing it on myself. I'm really becoming antisocial, and I don't mean that I'm going around being horrible. I'm just withdrawing into my shell a little bit, and I am often accused of being a snob, which I'm not. I'm genuinely not a snob, but I do choose my company wisely. Oh yes, I've had my times. I've had a few friends I shouldn't have had, and things have gone wrong, and they've ripped me off, and I've fallen out and we don't speak. And so I found that I do generally in my life, outside my family, with my 3 surviving brothers, get on very well with them. I generally keep myself to myself because I haven't got the patience, unless it's somebody who can talk on my wavelength. And now this is where we're getting to it, you see. Now you're cooking with gas. Because when I meet a stranger, which is a friend I haven't made yet, you might bore each other stupid for the first 5 minutes, and then suddenly he'll say something like, well, bloody chemtrails, look at them up there. And my ear will go, what? Did he use the word chemtrail? Chemtrail? Do you know about chemtrails? Oh yeah, been looking at them for years. I'm a real chemtrail maniac, I am. Bastards. It's this new world order. And I think, oh, as a man of my own heart, I now have a brother in arms, you see. And we have this, now we're, oh God, you know, he's my best friend already. He mentioned the chemtrail word, or he mentioned the fluoride word. Oh my God, I got a live one here. It's a bit like on They Live, when somebody puts their glasses on and gets seen, and one of the robots says, oh my God, we got one that can see. And I love meeting people who are fellow conspiracy analysts, because now they're on my wavelength. And here's the encouragement, if there is any in this video, folks, is that there are more and more people waking up and smelling the coffee, or putting their sunglasses on. And they're the ones I want to be surrounded by. Not the usual bloody idiots out there who just don't want to listen. They're the first ones that are going to go bleating, aren't they, all the time? These are the ones, you see, that'll blame everybody else but themselves for the chaotic mess of this world. Because they're the world's great spectators, and they become the world's greatest victims because they let it happen. Well, it's the old adage, isn't it? You know, a man who can read and doesn't is no worse than a man who cannot read. They're both equally bad. But there's nothing worse than knowing that fluoride is bad for you and yet drinking tap water and imposing it on your family and not doing something about it, and finding fluoride-free toothpaste, which there are some in the UK. There's Kingfisher toothpaste, which is fluoride-free, which is made in Norfolk by a terrific guy I know, various flavours. And there's also another fluoride-free toothpaste called Euthymol, EUTHYMOL. The military actually use euthymiol. It's pink and it's wonderful stuff. So euthymiol and Kingfisher toothpaste. So you can brush your teeth. Filter your water with a Berkey water filter. The big jobs, the stainless steel ones with the candles inside that filter the fluoride and the other bits and pieces and the chlorine. But if you know about these, why aren't you doing it, you see? There's nothing worse than knowing and yet continue doing it. You know you're banging your head on the wall is bad for you, but many, many people will continue to do it. You see? You're quite happy to go and buy 7-Up lemonade or Diet Coca-Cola, knowing that saccharin is a neurotoxin. It'll dumb you down, it'll make you so ill, and people react very violently to it. And yet they'll let their kid have some fizzy pop. Fizzy pop. You mean death juice, don't you? I'd rather have a fat kid on my hands than a moron with no brain. Carry on drinking the saccharin and the aspartame to see the effect. You see, I'd rather them have a full fat sugar drink if they're gonna. Why don't you just give them some fruit juice? Natural fruit juice. Here's the other ones. You see, you know. Oh, I can guarantee you that most people listening to this are not using butter, they're using margarine in their home and they're using liquid cooking oil, aren't they? Vegetable oil for cooking. Yeah, because your mum used to do it. Yes. Well, get yourself on lard. I've had this conversation before. But you get irritated. You see, you can't help it. They talk the talk, but they don't walk the talk. And that's a bummer, isn't it? But when you do stumble across somebody who is walking the walk as well as talking the talk, my kind of people, now you're cooking. Now we've got something really, we're blood brothers and sisters. We are cooking. But there's nothing worse than having a wife or a husband, is there, that ain't on your wavelength. You're going like this, aren't you? She thinks you're a nutter, and you think she's derelict in her duty of providing sound advice for the children, etc. She's not supporting you because you apply something you've learnt and she just knows about it. You're going this way. She's going, have you found that? The lover that you're living with, male, female, husband, wife, whatever, they might love you, but they do sympathise for you. My wife feels sorry for me on some things that I talk about. She just rolls her eyes. He's off again. Or I get warned when I'm going to see some of her friends for a dinner in the evening or something. Now, don't start with the conspiracy stuff, please. It's embarrassing. Why should it be embarrassing? I'm telling you, I won't go. But we'll never get asked again if you start your nonsense. I know. Yes. Ever since I had to go at one of her friends' husbands, who toboggans, when I said, why don't you get a proper job? He was a professional athlete. What do you do for a living? Toboggan. Oh, how selfish. How selfish. Isn't it? So self-indulgent, these Olympians. That's all they're interested in, themselves, their best time, their gold medal. Me, 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 me. I would ban the Olympics tomorrow. It serves no purpose and costs us all a fortune. See how much of a bigot, grumpy old man I'm turning into, and I'm loving it. Because now I can use my age for being grumpy. I'm a grumpy. But I'm a knowledgeable grumpy, and I'm an informed grumpy, and I'm absolute right. Absolutely right. I've looked at all the evidence, the preponderance evidence, and I've applied it. I haven't been a hypocrite. I haven't learnt about it and not applied it. I'm a big user of colloidal silver because I make it professionally at a high level. Oh yeah, baby, I've got a £6,000 machine in my garage that makes it to perfection in nanoparticle size, not the usual size. Yes, I probably make the best colloidal silver in the country, but I just can't be asked to market it because the morons out there don't understand what it is, and I ain't got time to educate them. It's not my job, but they're missing out. But I have found that the manners of people is declining. They don't. If you hold a door open now for a girl or a woman, they look. I can do it. It's okay. Oh, okay. Slam it. I'd love to just slam it in their face and say, "Oh, fuck off, then, bitch. Take that." Except her husband's a bit bigger than I am. But they look at you like, "I don't need the chair pulling out. Thanks very much." Where is chivalry anymore? No, the women, you see, become independent ever since they burnt their bras. Yes. I'm just being grumpy again. But no, I don't. You see, it begs the question, why would I bother holding a door open? I've had so many women really not hold doors open for me. I think, well, have it back, bitch. But I'm not like that. In my nature, I'm not like that. But I'm sensitive. It's complicated. And so am I. But I'm going through this melancholy phase now. I'm starting to just like my own company more and more and more. I'm becoming quite reclusive and very selective. Is it antisocial? No, not really. Super selective. Because the person you will become is, when you're younger, going to be decided by the people you mix with, the information you believe and apply in your life, and the environment in which you live. And sadly, most people don't recognise that till it's too late. They're cooked. They're fully cooked. The clever ones realise that they should have a goal. It's a little bit like that Peter Starstedt song, "Where Do You Go To, My Lovely?" When he's stuck in the rubble in France and she knocked around with the Aga Khan with a racehorse. She escaped the poverty that he was having to deal with, but he loved her. But she evidently didn't love him enough. She pissed off. She changed her environment, folks. And if you are surrounded by negheads and your friends are pulling you down, it's a little bit like crabs in a bucket. I'm not sure if you know that. I'll tell you anyway. If you go fishing, as I once did, lobster fishing or crab fishing particularly, and the bucket doesn't have to be that big. Well, it can be big enough to hold the number of crabs you want to hold, but here's the deal, it doesn't have to be that deep. And you think, well, that's not a very big bucket. Some of the crabs are like saucers, you know. Do you like the sound effects? I used to say, well, chuck it in the bucket. I said, no, it'll get out. He said, it won't. We'll have to put a second crab in there in a minute, stop it getting out. So what do you mean? He says, watch this. We chuck a second crab in the bucket. He said, they won't get out. I said, one will stand on top of the other and get out like a step, won't it? Off the edge. He said, no, watch this. And as one crab got one claw over trying to get out, the crab underneath stuck his arm over and pulled the crab back in. And they were swapping positions. And then he put a third crab in and they were all trying to climb on one another to get to the top. So every time poor sod at the top tried to get nearly there, the others pulled him back in. No, you don't, son. In you come. But they don't mean that, do they? They just want to pull on them to get themselves up. So crabs rarely disembark from a bucket, do they? You don't see many escaping. And people are like this, especially if you want to do well for yourself. Who the hell do you think you are? You're no better than me. Listen to that crab. And so many people are like crabs. Crabs in a bucket. They don't want you to better yourselves because they're too lazy and thick, and you shouldn't have any aspirations in life. Misery loves company. They want you just like them. And this is why it's important to assess. You want to cull half your friends, metaphorically, and get some new ones. You'll never know. You'll find a diamond in the rough. You might find a new soulmate. But for me, well, I've been there, done it, got the t-shirt. I'm quite a reserved sort of person in my life, keep myself relatively private without doing YouTube videos too much. And I'm intolerant now of the hypocrites that talk the talk but don't walk the talk. But I'm not so sad anymore because I realise that I'm not missing out on anything by not going to football matches or not going to the super sales to buy the latest designer shit. I'm not missing out. I'm really not. I'm not missing out by filling my bloody body up with alcohol every bloody night or every Friday night with the boys or alcohol. I'm not missing out. They're the ones who are doing the damage, but oh, I had my time, so I'm not going to be a hypocrite. But I'm better now. I used to smoke. I love smoking. It just responsible for nearly half killing me. So I reverted to the vat. And I do have an addictive personality. Yes, apparently so. Because, well, all work, no play makes Jack a dull boy, doesn't it? Everybody's got to have a little sneaky vice. And I vap. But I am on the low strength baccy, e-liquid, e-juice. But I've got to have something in my mouth. Apparently my mother told me I had this problem as a baby, so it continues even at the age of 56. But no, people are getting ruder because kids aren't slapped anymore for their bad-mouthing their parents, so they think they can get away with it. But there is a turning of the tide, and there is light at the end of the tunnel. There's not an express train coming our way all the time. Is I think that sooner or later children will be bored of being rude, adults won't find it tolerable at all, and history will repeat itself. And schools need more discipline. I'm a big advocate of corporal punishment at schools because they've gone downhill since that stopped and you're not allowed to smack the children. The threat is often enough as a deterrent than the physical thing. But any school taught in a Muslim environment, they know discipline and they outshine us so much in school academically. It would blow your mind if you truly knew how clever that faith schools are. This is why Catholic schools are very, very strict, but their standards are very, very high because there's respect. Yet the local comprehensive village idiots, well, I rest my case. Now they work in shops and in supermarkets, in the service industry, and they haven't got any manners and they talk shit. And they do this on their phones all day. They don't even say, I'll be with you in a minute. They're just doing this. You're standing there waiting to get served. Or she's like this. You go, can I help you? And they just stare. And you want to lean over the counter and grab them. Smash them in the face, don't you? Grumpy old man. Oh yes, I'm turning into a real Victor. Yes. Victor Meldrew. Now you see. Now, I used to think he was a grumpy old man, but now I can relate to him. Am I being hypocritical? Not in the slightest. Cynical? Maybe. But am I being right? You're too bloody right. Most people nowadays have got the manners of a pig. Do you think we should start again? What are your thoughts? Spare the rod, spoil a child. Spoil a child. The adults are usually bastards. See you later.